keep your window closed and yourself on mute. Admit folks. So just to get started, do you mind kind of going around the Zoom and telling us your name and your current position and past positions that would be, in the media industry? So kind of what's relevant to what comes tonight. Oh, sorry, Nader said, thank you. It came from my heart. So thank you. Absolutely. Those make the best films, by all means. Danny, do you want to start?
Well, hi, my name is Dani Camargo. I'm the Marketing and Communications Manager for Mercury Filmworks. Mercury Filmworks, it's behind Hilda, Kid Cosmic, Atomic Puppet, and other different animations. And my career in entertainment, well, actually, this is the first company in entertainment that I work for.
Wow.
But this has been building since 23 years ago that I graduated from university. This is my dream job. So it's I actually arrived here at Mercury after 23 years of working for it, and finally it's a dream company. I love my job. I love the team, the creators. And I think that the main thing is that I'm a big fan of all the animators.
Yes, I think that's huge. Well,
Yeah.
we want to hear all about that journey, but just want to get everybody's kind of title and company info down first. So we'll get back to you because that's amazing that you had that 23-year journey. Tommy, do you want to go next?
Sure. My name is Tommy. I'm currently the creative director at WLab Virtual Production Studios, based in Brooklyn Navy Yard. And
you also co-founded.
Right. And my kind of main role is a technical producer for virtual production projects. And by time to time, I supervise for virtual production projects as well. I have a background in television, work as a reality TV show producer for a while, and camera crew in general for a while as well. Yeah, that's like a short intro.
That's awesome. Irene?
Hi, everyone. I'm Irene Phan. I'm the SVP of Global Operations and Finance at the MBS Group. And I also created a training program for the MBS Group called Illumination Training, where we work with various nonprofits and community organizations around the world, and we provide them with hands-on training, specifically in lighting and grip. And we teach them hands-on skills and networking and relationship building for them to, get into the industry or build on their toolbox of skills that they can utilize while they are on other projects that they're working on. But mainly at the MBS Group, I work a lot on the mergers and acquisition side of things. We acquire many studios and equipment companies, and I work on that front and bring those companies onto our studio and equipment platform. For those that don't know about MBS, we are one of the leading providers of light and grip equipment around the world, and we also manage or operate our own over 550 sound stages around the world,
including Kaufman Astoria Studios and Silver Cup.
Yes.
And everywhere, basically. And our students have done the illumination program that Irene developed, and it's fabulous. So thank you for that, really. Angela?
Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Angela Morgenstern. I am currently consulting and advising. I'm on the board of the Astoria Film Festival. But prior to that, I spent 7 years at Netflix, where I was Vice President of Product Content Innovation. So I built a team of product leaders all over the world, in Japan and Mexico and Mumbai and LA, et cetera, who were helping to connect Netflix with creators who wanted to understand the power of the platform, but also making changes to the user experience to make Netflix more palatable to consumers. Before that, I had a long career both in media and tech. So I ran content for PBS for quite a while. I also worked for Frontline and for KQED in San Francisco. I was a supervising producer at MTV News. I was an executive at Current TV, which was an upstart independent cable channel. I was in production many years ago on the TV and doc side. But also intermixed with that, I'm based in the San Francisco Bay Area. I've also been a product manager and a tech executive working in the startup world, which is what brought me to Netflix in part. So I'm really excited to be here and be helpful if I can.
Thank you. And you're currently kind of dabbling in AI stuff, no?
Yeah, so as I said, I'm in the Bay Area, and I live inside of the epicenter here, so I'm very interested in how AI will increasingly probably take up more entertainment share when you think about people's interaction with agents and other things. So I have some ideas there, and then also companies here are, of course, also thinking about how AI is going to affect the supply side of entertainment too. So it's a time of rapid change for everyone, I think.
Absolutely. Nader says he's from San Francisco as well.
Great. And I have to say, in case anyone's wondering why someone from San Francisco and Nader is on the board of the Astoria Film Festival, I was reminded by my dad that my dad was born in Queens and my grandfather had a furniture store in Astoria. So I feel a very special love.
What was the
for
furniture
all
store?
the things. It was many years ago.
I've been here many years.
All right, we'll talk after.
Yes, yes. Amazing. Thank you. And also, I dragged Angela in because she's awesome and we go way back. Maddy, oh, sorry, Valencia, I think you're next. Oh,
Hello, everyone. So my name is Valencia Coleman. I am a gameplay engineer at Owlchemy Labs, and I focus on, of course, programming games, VR games, but I'm also a IGDA Foundation alumni coordinator where I focus on helping diversity efforts in the video game industry, which I am passionate about.
absolutely. Thank you for being here. And where are you located?
Oh, I'm located in Atlanta, Georgia.
Awesome. Maddy?
Hello, I'm Maddy Mermelstein. I work at Nick Jr. I work on the Tiny Chef Show right now as a production coordinator. And before that, I worked on Dora for about a year and a half doing research, which I'm very passionate about as well. And can give the rest of the spiel at a later point. But I have had many lives in my young, short life
In your very young life.
Yes.
I actually, starting with you, we'll go back around. Can you tell us a little about your path to getting to this point?
Sure. Yeah, I'll try to
Kind of
give
like the highlights, like what were, and your aha moment of like, I really want to be in this industry.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. So I studied sociology and screenwriting. I graduated in 2020 from BU, from Boston University, and I thought I was going to work in like nonprofit or teaching, special education, and then halfway through college, I realized like my dream was television, and I had an advisor who unwisely was like, do it, girl. So
Unwisely?
well, somehow it worked out. So I went for it, and I worked in late night for a few years. I worked at Colbert, and I worked at Sam B, which is not in existence anymore, but used to be on TBS. And I loved it a lot. I loved like the people who worked there and the content and why people showed up to work, but there was something kind of missing for me. And I couldn't really put my finger on it. And then during the pandemic, I was living in my childhood bedroom because 2020 did that to my class.
Oh, yes.
And I had a lot of time to think about like what I wanted to be doing when I came back into society, if that makes sense. And I got a job in branding. I was a writer for a small branding agency. I worked in ed tech for a little bit. So I was doing things that were not what I thought I'd be doing and thinking about how I wanted to be spending my time. And I kind of had this light bulb moment that like everything I'd ever written in college for my screenwriting classes was about kids. And my room looks like a shrine to childhood. Still, even my adult bedroom, like there's stuffed animals of like Arthur on the wall. And I also worked at Arthur in college and like really did not connect the dots there at all. It was just like everyone at BU in my program worked at GBH, which is the like local PBS station, and I loved it and didn't think like maybe I could do this for a whole career. So that's how I made the transition, and it took me a while took me like a year and a half from realizing that to maybe 2 years to like land in that space. Which now that I hear it took you 23 years, Danny, I'm like, that's no time at all. But at the time it felt like an eternity. And yeah, I love it a lot. I hope that was not too long, but
No, not at all.
yeah.
Valencia?
Hello, so I am a game developer, I'm a gameplay engineer, and I started out getting a degree in computer science. So I graduated in 2020. And when I graduated with my computer science degree with a focus in game programming, the pandemic happened. And I was like, okay, I want to still be in games. Well, in the Southeast region, Southern region, there's not many game studio here. So I started reaching out online. I started being involved with the International Game Developer Association Foundation. And I applied for the mentorship and I got a ticket to go to GDC virtually. So I went to GDC virtually through them. I enjoyed the mentorship, had a great mentor at Google. And through that mentorship program, I was able to I still wanted to be involved and do events for them because I'm very passionate about bringing diversity into the game industry, especially more women of color into the game industry.
Absolutely.
And they allowed me to be an alumni coordinator. So as people go through the program, they go through me and I do events. And now I'm able to go to GDC every year and it's amazing. And through there, I've started applying for jobs and started applying for gameplay engineering jobs to move out of IT into the games because I went to IT at the college. And I applied for a job at Owlchemy Labs and making VR games, which I am now, which I recently got promoted. So I'm a gameplay engineer level 1.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Angela?
Sure. So I went to a public high school in a small town in Massachusetts, which happened to have like an amazing media program. The local cable station provided us resources, not unlike what Astoria Film Festival is doing. And I had my own TV show. I was very into media from a young age, where I talked with a very thick accent and said like, welcome to whatever it was, school talk, or, day or whatever it was. But I was always very interested in media. When I graduated college, I wanted to do something net beneficial to the world, but which had broad impact. And for me at that time, a few decades ago, PBS had that kind of impact in terms of distribution and engagement and community involvement. So I went there, and then without going into all the details, my career sort of followed the trajectories and trends in the industry. So I knew I wanted to do something in production. I moved to the Bay Area, where I worked on a series of documentaries about ordinary, extraordinary people, and also people fighting hate crimes, different things. And when you're in those early jobs, you do whatever it takes, right? You hang off a tree.
Yes.
If you need to get a camera, shot, you tell the birds to please be quiet while you're filming, whatever it is. So I did that kind of work. And then it was the first .com boom in the Bay Area, where we started to see the introduction of widespread digital technologies that were enabling all kinds of online engagement. So I actually transitioned from producer to product manager, which is sort of a fancy word for being strategic in your decision-making around what you decide to do and not do with an experience or product in order to make it, reach your goals as a business and better for consumers. And from there, I went back and forth between tech and media, both the broadcast and media side, and then primarily digital, creating experiences online to accompany, PBS programs at first, but over time, commercial experiences as well. And so you could say I started on the content side and evolved my skill set to oversee product engineering, design, user experience, metrics, et cetera, over time. And those skills all helped me at Netflix, which at the time I joined was just turning toward originals as a strategy, and was making this move from being an extremely innovative tech company and preserving that, but also expanding into the entertainment space in a bigger way. So those skills helped me bridge the evolution that the company was going through as well. And I'm happy to answer more questions about it later, but I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Irene?
I think my path into the industry, just like how you can probably tell, like everybody's path into the industry is very, very different, which is why this industry can be quite difficult sometimes.
Yes.
Um, so for me, I was born and raised in Toronto, Canada. So Danny, I'm fellow Canadian. I don't know, I think you're as well. So for me, I actually grew up doing a lot of drama and theater. I had a huge passion about with acting, wanted to move to Hollywood, Los Angeles, California, whatever, to become a big time actress. So I did drama and theater up until the end of high school. But unfortunately, my parents actually told me that you can't continue this past beyond high school. Here are your 5 options that you can continue doing, which is obviously either a doctor, engineer, like a dentist, an accountant, or lawyer. So
Immigrant parents on Shot in the Dark by any chance?
yeah,
Yes,
there
same.
were, yeah,
Yeah.
So that, and they also said to me that there was no such thing as a Asian female in Hollywood. So I guess like that was kind of true back then. Obviously things have changed a little bit now, but to be honest, the only one that I knew of growing up that was Asian was Lucy Liu. And then maybe, as I went into university, Sandra Oh, right? Anyways, so
Yeah.
I actually ended up studying accounting and finance in university. I've obtained my CPA license through Ernst& Young. I worked at a Big Four accounting firm for 6 years. And I think the reason why I somehow made my way back into entertainment was because all my clients all my clients that I had at Ernst& Young was entertainment clients. So in Canada, I would do like Chorus, Rogers, Bell. Eventually, I asked to be relocated to Los Angeles so I can work on the bigger entertainment clients like Paramount, Fox. And then from there, I actually moved on and then joined the MBS group. I was actually hired initially to be in accounting and finance. I did all the financial reporting and accounting and auditing. I, reported numbers to our investors and worked very closely with the private equity firms that own us. And however, with the growth of MBS, which is great, and I think that's what the great part is about this industry is that you can evolve and move in any direction that the wind takes you. I actually started doing more work in operations with the growth of MBS. So I started to spend a lot more time in the warehouse learning about the equipment, learning about the various crew positions and the people that are from production that comes through our doors and rent our gear. And I've always kind of noticed that I was the only female kind of running around in the warehouse with the warehouse team. And then from asking questions about, hey, how did you get in the industry? It's always very similar. My dad, my uncle, my grandfather brought me into the industry, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then it really got me thinking about how, like, wow, like if I wanted to do this for myself, it would be so difficult, right? Because my dad was not in this industry. I don't know anybody else that's in this industry, but like I have a passion for this industry, which is why the Illumination training program was created. It's meant for those that don't have all these connections or relationships,
Yeah.
for them to really help them get through the door or be connected with the right people. I've been at MBS for a little over 8 years now. I've been working on some of the larger acquisitions like Silver Cup and Kaufman there in New York. Up in Canada, I worked on acquisitions such as the Vancouver Film Studios. Here in Los Angeles, I did Radford Studio Center, Television City, Culver Studio. So somehow, like with my accounting and finance background, I was able to kind of get back into more of the
Yes.
prettier side of things. And I just feel like my career is just getting started, to be honest, even though like I've been doing this for, I mean, I guess I am young, like 35. So my career is just getting started, and I'm actually, I don't know, I recently just found out that I'm actually moving to New York
Oh, cool. We're
at the end of
happy to have
July.
you.
Yes, so I'm moving to New York at the end of July, and I'm actually will be running Board Studio, which is in Long Island City for the MBS group. So now I'm like a studio
I
manager.
love it. I love that you hard relate on the immigrant parents not wanting you to do this, and then and having absolutely no connections. My dad was a barber, and figuring out a way to get back in there, right? So that's
Yeah.
amazing. I love that.
Well, when I told my parents, obviously they're very happy about how I'm going to be running a full-on studio. They were like, so like you're not using your CPA license anymore? And I was like,
Yes,
Mom.
yes, totally, totally, totally.
Well, I was like, Mom, like
It's
the
okay.
CPA
It's
license
okay.
actually got me to where I am today. And like without it, I don't think I would have had these
But
opportunities.
that's so typical. They're like, but wait, you're not going to really be an accountant. No, when I got a job at Nickelodeon, unfortunately, it was like the 90s. There was this diner on Steinway called Nickelodeon. And so like my dad and the whole community thought I was working at the diner. They were like, oh, she went to Harvard and now she's working at a diner. Like, where did we go wrong? I was like, no, it's a cable channel like, that I really want to be on. So anyway, I very much relate, yes. And I appreciate all you're doing to help stop the gatekeeping. And that's what we're trying to do too, because it's very real. Tommy?
Hey, my background kind of starts with still photography. So I was doing product photography for jewelry companies and for watches, clothing brands for a while, and then I kind of stepped because my specialty is in lighting. So then I kind of stepped into what was called back in Shanghai where I worked called specialty filmmaking. So basically, we're kind of like my team is kind of in charge of large stabilizer, Steadicam, like just massive jibs, those kind
Yes,
of like
yes.
underwater filming. So I kind of got my step into filmmaking and the TV industry through like those kind of interesting stuff that people normally don't
Stuff that
do.
like hurts your body. Like,
Yeah, sometimes. So I stopped doing Steadicam because it kind of hurts my back.
yeah.
Then it's a really good opportunity for me to move into producing, where I found that with my technical expertise and my background in lighting, I can just navigate my way through just producing for all kinds of different projects. After I graduated from NYU Tisch, I found this interest in the new emerging technology called virtual production. And me and a few co-founders, we opened this studio called WLab, and
Which is right behind you,
which
correct?
is right behind me. We have an LED wall and all the technology that runs it. Like our one of the biggest issue that I found when I was learning about this technology is there's very little access for you to actually just practice on set. So we were like, hey, we want something that we can play around with and we can provide opportunity for others to play around with. Then we had that in mind and started the whole business. And now that we're close to like officially 1.5 years, we have done about 70 projects, I believe, all in virtual production using these kind of crazy technologies.
Amazing, amazing. I feel like the wall's grown since I was there. Is that true?
Yes, a little bit. Piece by piece, we have like all kind of different toys added in here every single week, just trying to refresh everyone's mind.
That's amazing. So I guess what advice do you have for young filmmakers or game developers, virtual production developers, digital product developers, anyone who kind of wants to get into your field? Like, if there was one piece of advice you could give them as to what they should do to get where you are or get into the field in general, what would that be?
I believe like I think just do it. All these technology, essentially like this LED wall, it's essentially a giant TV. So if you have a TV at home and you have an iPhone, just do it and just do like a really nice reel and show it to a bunch of people. And that's probably like that's my first step of getting into know these kind of technologies.
Awesome. Danny, sorry, your path. I started to go back and realized I couldn't see you on the thing, so apologies. If you could tell us about the 23 years of getting to Mercury. I want to
should have
know.
started with 23 years. I should have just said more than 10. But well, I'm from Mexico.
Don't feel bad. It's been 30 years for me, so
Yeah.
it's all good.
I'm originally from Mexico. I studied marketing, and then I did a master's degree in marketing. My professional career started in insurance, in an insurance company, back in Guadalajara, which is the city where I studied. And well, it was insurance, and I was just starting. So after 5 months of working there, which was one of the main offices worldwide, my boss said, well, there's another job offering back in Tijuana, which is in Baja California. I'm from Ensenada, which is 1 hour from San Diego, California.
I've been.
Oh, good.
One of my
So,
best friends in college lived in Southern California, so
oh, nice. So, one of the things that I also want to share with the young people who are starting their careers is that one of the things that I said as soon as I graduated is that I was never going to say no to any opportunity that crossed my path.
Yes.
So yes, I was dreaming about entertainment when I was studying my career. I wanted to go in entertainment, and I mean, I in every award show I had seen all the TV shows, all the movies. I had my list. I have my reviews, like to see if I match the award winners, right? So
Right.
I have been always very nerdy and geeky when it comes to
Same.
entertainment.
Same.
When it comes to entertainment, video games, everything, right? Toys, like I do have many toys, Funkos, etc. So that opportunity with the insurance company came. 5 months later, they offered me another position in the company, but in Tijuana. So my boss said, tell me tomorrow if you decide that you want to go. And because I had said to myself, I will never say no to an opportunity, I immediately say yes.
Wow.
So I said yes.
Tomorrow, in a
My
day. you'll find
family's
it.
in Ensenada, Tijuana, very near. So I said yes, and I stayed in the insurance company for a year and a half. And then an opportunity came in San Diego to organize a fun ride, a bicycle fun ride that has been going on for almost 70 years in
Wow.
Baja. That goes from Rosarito to Ensenada, but it's targeted to American clients. So I worked there for a year, and I had to organize an event twice a year for 8,000 bike riders from California,
Wow.
from Mexico, and it was really a very fun experience for me. And well, it's kind of entertainment because it's sports, and I had to talk to many sponsors and visit bike shops and etc. Meeting people, talking to people, and I love that job. So then I wanted to go and start my master's degree, but I ended up going back to my hometown, and then an accountant friend of my family said to me, I have a client who is an American who has a company here in Ensenada, but he wants someone that has experience in marketing and that speak English. And because marketing, it was developed in Mexico, but only in the big cities like Guadalajara, Mexico City, Monterrey, but not really like in the whole country. So there weren't many universities that taught marketing. So because I went to a big city to study marketing and I had the experience, when I had my interview with this person, he said, you're hired. And it's an it was an internet company that did back then did they had one channel for a page for online dating that was targeted for South America.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, my boss was American, but he made these products for online for people in South America. So was there for a year and a half, and then I said, you know what, I want to study my master's. I want to do my master's. Back then, my sister and my brother-in-law were in Washington, D.C. So I said, I want to go to Washington, D.C. to study my master's. And my master's was going to be in tourism and entertainment. And I said, that's going to be the chain that will take me to the path that I want to go.
Yes.
So in the end, I got accepted in George Washington University, but my boss said, wait a year. Wait a year, I need you here. I will pay for your master's.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
All
that's a good sell.
But also my sister was coming back to Mexico and she was having my first niece. So I was like, oh my God, it's personal, it's professional, I have to stay.
Yes. Yes.
So in the end, I stayed in my hometown for several years. I didn't go to the master's degree to do my master's degree in George Washington because all of a sudden the company closed and it went bankrupt. So things
Wow.
happen, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so I stayed in my hometown and I started working at a university that was opening there as a marketer. And then I saw that some of the students were having problems learning marketing and understanding marketing. So they came to me and said, hey, Danny, can you explain please the 4 Ps of marketing and why this and why that? And I said, oh, yeah. So I started explaining and they said, oh, you should teach marketing. I said, no, I'm not a teacher. I cannot teach anything. So no, forget about it. But in the end, I started teaching university. And at the same time, I started my own marketing agency.
Wow.
In my hometown. So I taught for 9 years.
I mean, when you're doing marketing, you're constantly teaching your clients, right? Like that's
exactly. And I love my career. I mean, I love marketing and communications. And I feel that I have a passion for it. That is something very easy to do if you understand your consumer. And well, in a way, like Irene mentioned, and I think that it's cultural, my first option to study was graphic design.
yes, yes.
But my dad said, you know what? It's not a career. That's weird. How many graphic designers do you know? Where are they working? So back then there weren't many software tools. So I said, well, okay, something near that has to be with something creative. I went to marketing. So yeah, I started teaching and I loved it. I mean, I was a professor in one of the universities in my hometown for 9 years.
Wow.
And it was very fulfilling for me because I was updated because I always was reading about things. I was watching the Super Bowl, watching the ads, analyzing them and comparing them and, all marketing things in my everyday life. So, after that, well, it was like 9-10 years and I had my own marketing agency. It was a boutique marketing agency, but I had clients from like lawyers, agriculture, entertainment, also local entertainment, stores, like many industries.
Mm-hmm.
But then I decided to come to Canada. So I immigrated to Canada because in the States, there's a lot of people that want to go to look for opportunities.
Yes.
And I said, you know what? I like Canada. It's a very good country to look for new opportunities. And also, if you bring something to the table, the doors are open. So I started with my marketing agency here and still having clients in Mexico and in San Diego. And then I said, you know what? I've been an entrepreneur for 10 years. I want to go back.
Yes, yes, I understand. I understand that feeling, yes.
And so I started looking for a job in other companies. So of course, the first ones that came were marketing agencies too. But then I started looking for entertainment, film. and I saw an opportunity at Mercury Filmworks. I read the description and I said, oh my God, they are describing me.
Right, right.
Because nowadays people concentrate on online marketing and digital marketing. But this company needed traditional marketing in traditional media. And I had that experience, but I also have the experience on digital marketing. So I have that, and I also had the experience of being a teacher, of being a
Yes.
professor in university, and that was also something that was very interesting for my boss, because I was going to be able to communicate in an easy way all the
Complete-
strategies that we were designing to everybody, to all the talent. So yeah, it was a process of 2-3 months. And the first day that, first of all, and speaking about toys, the first interview that was online, I said, you know what, I'm going to have that interview and all my toys in the back. Because of course, you have to study the company.
So you were
have-
marketing yourself through the interview.
I was marketing myself, and what I saw in the videos of the company is that everybody had toys in their offices. And I said, I have toys. I do have toys. So my big Funko collection and Star Wars Lego collection was in the back. And it was a very interesting interview, always saying, okay, one day at a time. And the talent person that interviewed me said, you have a very interesting resume. For me, in part, I thought it was going to be a difficult process because I'm from Mexico. All my experience is from Mexico and some in the States, in San Diego, but there wasn't any experience in Canada. And some companies want experience from the country you are in. So I had an experience with a small marketing company here, but I was there for only 8 months or 10 months. And when I started applying, so I said, you know what, let's have faith. And what I saw, it was an openness to read my resume, to see the experience I had and what I could bring to the table.
Yes. But it's so critical to people making those decisions that they're not
right.
like too focused, and that they have experience, so that they know like your experience is worthwhile, even if it's more why, but that's not always the case, unfortunately.
Yeah, and here that's what I had. I had 2 online interviews, 2 personal interviews, like in the office, and I had to do a project for the company.
Oh wow. That's so fun.
It was a process that for me it was very fulfilling, because I was doing something that I loved to prove that I could be a marketing manager for a very important studio. And the thing that I noticed is that when they hired me, it was like, oh my God, I am a fan of all these people that I'm going to work with.
Yes.
When I met Andy Coyle, the director of Hilda,
Yes.
I was having a moment. I was like a fan moment. I actually,
it's amazing. Like, so Brian
autograph.
Ford is one of our board members, and he's part of the Hilda team, and you know, through him I've met a lot of these amazing animators, and you know, to him they're just his buddies, but I'm just like fangirling the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, that's, for me, every day going to the studio is about having time with people that I admire, with people older, younger than I, that can teach me something. And that's important, to be open no matter what age you are.
So would that be your advice? Kind of like, I was going to start with you and go back. Is that your kind of one piece of advice to young people or anybody looking to get into the industry? To be open?
Be open to learning from every person that crosses your path. You never know when you're going to be able to use whatever you learn from that person. And I mean, like, it took me 23 years and I got here, but the path that I crossed and all the experiences I had were the ones that built me for this position.
So everything was important.
Everything, even the insurance company, let me tell you.
Yeah, of course. It got you where you wanted to go.
Everything, never say no to an opportunity, because that opportunity can teach you something.
Love
So
that.
take advantage of that, and take advantage of all the people that you meet in the process, because you
love
can learn. I have learned a lot from younger people than me, and I mean, it's about sharing knowledge and about just teamwork in the end.
Maddy, your take on like advice for people who might want to get into the industry, like what's your one little nugget, if you would?
Yeah. First of all, that was like a very incredible and inspiring story. So I just really appreciated hearing your perspective. I'm like, wow, I'm young. Like, who knows what my future has to offer? I would
The world
say,
is your oyster, as the saying goes. I'm not really
it's
sure what
true.
that means, but nonetheless.
I would say number one, I realized I feel like I didn't say this, but I work like what I realized in my career journey about mission is that I wanted to work in children's television. I'm used to being in such a kids' TV
That you
space.
pitched
I
that
didn't even
just
like
in, yeah.
name that, but not anyone else here works in children's media. So I realized I was like very passionate about that. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I want to work probably with and for children forever, whether it's in kids or not. I mean in television or not.
Yep.
Sorry, I had a long work day.
It's been a long week, so I
It's a long
understand.
day. Um, my biggest piece of advice is to just piggybacking off of what Danny said, like speaking to everybody. And I know that can be really uncomfortable for some people. Like I know when I started, so I didn't know anyone in this field. I went from ground zero. I, similar to what other people said, my parents, like when I declared in this major, I hid it from my parents for like 2 months. I was like, how am I going to tell my parents that I've done this? And they sat down and they were like, they weren't even like excited for me. They were like, you need to write out the backup plan immediately if this is what you're going to do. And so I had like all the ways, like my mom immediately made me meet with a professor at school who ended up becoming like a mentor to me and this wonderful person before I transferred to the School of Communications to be like, what can you do with a film, like a television degree that is not television? That was literally the question she made me walk in and ask him, which he's still to this day, he's like, I will never forget that. But I mean, I'll just give like a little tidbit. Actually, that's probably a good story because he was like, all right, well, that's a crazy question. I'm literally a professor of television and screenwriting. However, I have this friend, Dean, who has this boutique branding agency and it's in downtown Boston. And he always hires, you know, entertainment writers, like kids who are screenwriters or write plays, like creative writers right out of college. Go meet with him. And I was like a sophomore in college. I had never considered career in this way before. And I met with this guy at his small company downtown. And I don't know, like I walked into the office and there was like, you know, cool stuff the way you were talking about it, Danny. Like there was penguin, like plastic penguins everywhere and like just cool stuff on the walls. And I was like, oh, like I did not realize offices could look like this. I'm a different kind of learner. And like I always thought that I would need to be working. I just could not ever imagine like going to an office and wearing slacks. I was like, kill me. That sounds like the worst thing ever. And that's the job that when I was looking for work and I couldn't work in late night because of the timing of my graduation, I reached back out to Dean, who I had met that like random time. And I asked him if he happened to be hiring anyone. And he remembered me from meeting me sophomore year. And he's like, I actually totally need someone, like come work with me. And I did that for a year. So I feel like my biggest advice is just like, again, like similar, just be open to any meeting. Always just be open to asking questions and hearing about someone's path. I feel like the more people's journeys I learned about, the less anxious I felt about the future. Like right now, I'm in, like, my company's CEO just stepped down and we have no idea what's going to happen. And like just hearing people speak about the ebbs and flows of life and career, like wherever the wind takes me, and I have to be comfortable with that. And last but not least, like to people who really want to get into television or like especially animation, like kids TV, these are such small networks. Like they are so much smaller than people realize. Everybody knows
I
everybody
meet
once you're
people
in
now
it.
that I knew 30 years ago that I completely forgot about. Like
Yeah.
it's still the same group.
It's crazy how tiny it is, and like people marry each other, like it's way smaller than I was expecting. And so I feel like for me, since I didn't know anybody in the field, I just started from ground zero, and LinkedIn, I hate to say it, is so your friend. Like I found my job at Dora through LinkedIn.
Yes.
I
I mean, all our
found,
students make LinkedIn pages and they hate me for it, but it's like,
yeah,
it's
oh
so
my
critical.
God. My mom made me do it, and I was like, this is disgusting. Like I was allergic to anything corporate, and now I
Yeah, well,
work.
they're like, it's all old people.
My
Yes, and they have all
conglomerate.
the jobs you want. So
Yeah.
connect.
And I also think like I see a lot of posts on LinkedIn that say, like I'm so tired. I've applied to like, 300 jobs this year and I don't know what to do. And I feel like who is telling this person that you have to talk to people? Like the job market these days, like you can't just cold apply to a job, and that's a really unfortunate part of working. I don't even think it's television specific. Like I think it totally applies to anything probably ever, but especially in media, like
Make
talking to a
connections.
human being and letting them know that you've applied to a job somewhere. Like all the interviews I have ever gotten have been because I told someone, not someone I had a connection to, someone I had like cold messaged on LinkedIn and said, "Hey, I'd love to chat about your work for like 10 minutes," when I considered myself like I had nothing on my resume and I was nobody, when I'm just me. And I talked to them and, hit it off or whatever and kept in touch, and then said, I saw this job, I applied. It's like all long game
Yep.
stuff. So that's how I got my job at Nick, and that's what I tell people. It's always like, sorry, I really just talked a lot, but yeah, that's how it worked for me, and it never ends. Like I get hit up by people who I think like don't need a network anymore, and they're like showrunners and EPs, and they're like, let's get coffee. How you doing?
Absolutely.
And it's
Absolutely.
just cross-generational. It's
Especially in
whatever.
entertainment, you're constantly looking at the next gig,
Yeah.
your old gig mate. I mean, even when I was at Viacom, like I was laid off and then hired back like a month later. Like that happens frequently.
Yeah.
Just you're just constantly like you're constantly on thin ice, so you're constantly making connections.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Valencia.
That's my 50 cents. Sorry.
Appreciate it.
So one advice I can give someone young people about being, especially in the game industry, is very similar to what Danny and Maddy said. Always say it's opportunities, always make connections. Like Maddy was saying, for us in the game industry, it's very, very small. The game industry is not that big. I just tell people I met going GDC before I got into the game career that I knew now into the game career. And so one advice I always tell young people though is always find a community for you. One thing I struggled with is being a person of color and being an engineer of color into video games. That's
In
very rare to
game, yes,
find.
it's like we have very many layers of exclusion happening there.
Yeah, and I'm also, I know, oh, my camera's not focusing. I'm also a woman. So like so many things that were hard to find, but I found so many communities that fit me. I found through the IGDA Foundation, International Game Development Foundation. They're all about bringing marginalized people into the game industry. Through them, I met my mentor at Google, and he's the one to be like, "Oh my gosh, you're amazing!" And we end up meeting more people, and now I work for a company that is owned by Google, which is awesome.
Yes.
And now also I met Black in gaming, like people who are also with me who are African Americans in the game industry who want to be more active in gaming, and like, okay, I found a community. I also just did a panel with NC Wit, which is about women in computer science, women in engineering. So I joined several different communities so I don't feel that aloneness feeling. Because when you feel alone, you get that imposter feeling. You feel like I'm the only one in the room. And that community helps you lift you up and build you up when you're having those feelings. And mind you that you're not the only one in the room. You're not the only person. There are people out there like you. So that's why I always want to tell young people.
I love that. And I think something that I heard only recently, which I wish I'd heard when I was younger, is kind of imposter syndrome is just a lack of representation of people like you in that space and not a personal deficit, right? Like you always, I always thought of imposter syndrome as like, oh, I don't have what it takes, but it's more of, no, that space is not inclusive, and therefore it's the space's problem, right? Not yours, right? So, and Angela says 100% Valencia, important to find community and choose roles and opportunities that give broad exposure to more people. Nader, if we have time, we will, but we want to kind of get everybody's kind of little blip before we do that. So Angela.
Sure. So I agree with a lot of what's been said. I have 3 suggestions. One is similar to what Tommy said. If you're a young person entering this industry, just getting started is really important. Assuming you have access to the tools and phone or whatever is necessary, it's really an unprecedented time in terms of the ability to build your own brand, to build your own social platform. If you're taking a side industry for a second, if you're an author today and you want to publish a book, the first question an agent will probably ask you is, what's your social following and what's your platform? So it's really important to be strategic and think through what kinds of projects you want to do, how can you model those projects, and just get started. There are digital, publishers today who are very interested in fresh voices and hearing from people directly, and the tools are much more democratized than they were 20, 30 years ago. So to some degree, people who are starting out now have a unique advantage in that yes, you should listen to everyone, but you should also listen to your own instincts, not to us, because your experience will be very different entering this industry than ours was. The second thing is we're living in an era of unprecedented technological change. The rate of change is getting faster, and that's not just in technology, but in our society. So I think it would be short-sighted to just apply to like a TV program, TV job, sound program, sound job. That's not to say those things aren't wonderful and great, but you have to assume the industry is going to be disrupted pretty significantly. It already is being so. And so be prepared to pivot and change and adapt. And you've heard some stories here today. The path may not be a straight line. It may give you the opportunity to stretch yourselves in different ways and try different technologies, different ways in. Because frankly, the entertainment industry is in a different space today. The business models are pressured quite a bit and constricted. And so it's important to think about, and I would think about entertainment proximate industries too, and be adaptable about what kinds of roles you take. I do think people should be strategic in the kinds of things they do. My personal advice is to take opportunities, if you can get them, to be around people who will be important connections for you later, from whom you can find community. You may not find the perfect job in a big company, but that may give you an opportunity to meet lots of people who are going to go on to do interesting things for whom you've been exposed and who will know you're great. Or similarly, if you have an opportunity to get together with friends and do something, and if you have the opportunity, move to an area to be around other people. I have a cousin in LA who's young, who moved out there with some people he knew because he knew he could be part of the creative community and sort of do things there. And that's a privilege for sure, but trying to surround yourselves with like-minded people who will be good connections is probably as important as finding the exact right job. And then third, really practically, people brought it up, but networking is hard, right? You're meeting people, it's awkward. I have been most impressed and ended up hiring people who did not come to me saying like, can I have this job? I have no experience, but instead maybe said, can I have 8 minutes of your time? Notice I said 8, it's a very specific number, right? To ask 3 questions that I have about XYZ, right? Have a little conversation. I'm very interested in why. And at the end of those conversations, they didn't just say, do you have a job for me? They might say something like, do you have any recommendations of other people I could talk to? If you could think of 2 or 3 people that I could talk to, I would follow up with them and I would love to have a similar conversation. And you know what? Almost everyone knows 2 or 3 people that they connect someone to. So if you can break down your networking into small bites and be persistent, I think that will really help you. My first job out of college, I got through like an insane amount of networking, and plenty of people didn't write me back. And it's nothing personal. It's almost always not about you. It's about how busy that other person is. And similarly, there are many people I haven't written back to because I was busy at the time. So don't take it personally. Just try to make connections where you can, get experiences where you can. It's just as important to learn what you don't want to do as it is what you do want to do. I took a PR job when I was in college, and somebody asked me if I wanted to be on a particular sneaker account, and I said something really dumb, like, no, I'm not into sneakers. And then I realized, like, saying it, oh, maybe I should be in PR because I can't like manufacture my enthusiasm for something about which I'm not enthusiastic. Either way,
It still helps.
give yourself, exposure to various things.
I love that. All amazing info. And Irene.
Can I just say ditto? Or no, I'm kidding.
But yeah, I know that is complete. That's 100% Angela.
Ditto to every single one of y'all. If I could add something on top of everybody else, I would probably say, yes, learn as much as you can. I think the best, like, if you decide to become a producer or director or whatever a position you want to be, I think the best producer directors are those that have a good understanding of what all the other departments, what all the other roles are doing within this process of creating something creative, right? You can be a great producer director if you don't know those other things, but I think like the really amazing ones are those that can really understand what the other departments do. So I think it's a great opportunity for everybody that's coming up within the industry to really get the opportunity to learn about the other departments, learn about as much as you can, so that whatever you decide to do, it's like, okay, like I'm better because I just know what everybody else does within this filmmaking, TV, or whatever creative aspect that you're working on. I think also when you're starting and when you're still within this space, attitude is so important. People always say like these are the families that you have outside of your actual family, because you actually spend a lot more time with these individuals than you ever sometimes do, unfortunately, with your actual family members. So having a great attitude when you're on set or when you're working is so important, right? Maybe when you're starting out, it's the, hey, like, I have free time, or I have hands, like, how can I step in and help, right? Like, I think the way I moved up within my career was I was, one, very eager to learn about everything. It only made me a better executive at MBS. 2, I always lend a helping hand. I always ask, hey, how can I help you with this? Is there anything I can help out with? If if you want me to take something off your plate, I'm happy to do so. And I think with that kind of mindset, people love having you around, and they'll continue to have you around or bring you on to productions or jobs or whatever, or think of you because we're like, well, she has a great attitude, or he has a great attitude, or they have a great attitude, and I want them around because they might not have done this before, but that person has a great attitude. They will learn, they will figure it out. So I'll end off with that.
Also, there was in the career panel on Saturday, Ben Lehman, who was a showrunner for Sesame Street, but also was a camera operator and an editor and a PA at times, an administrative assistant at times. And he was like, the more things you can do, the more things you're willing to do. When one kind of, when work in one area dries up, you have alternate opportunities, but also then in the end, it leads to knowing more about everything. And our panelists are agreeing in the chat, saying, keep learning, become the Swiss Army knife from Maddy. Knowing multiple skills helps with games as well from Valencia. And so great advice.
I would also sorry, one more thing. Like, even if you're a veteran or you've been in this industry for quite some time, like, we know we work with some of the best gaffers or the key grips or whatever on production, and they always tell us like we're constantly learning, right? Every set is different. Lighting setups are different. They expand, they grow. Sometimes they become smaller. And I've always hear from everybody from various crew positions that they're constantly learning, even from like the younger generation or the younger members of the crew. So learning, I say, is always very important.
Also, I think piggybacking off of that, if I think what Angela was saying too, and how I got into kind of, use whatever door you can to get in. So right now, virtual production, AI is a way, like if you have an aptitude towards that, to kind of get into entertainment through kind of a side door, if kind of the gatekeeping is keeping you out of the main entrance, if you will, right? I got in through digital production, right? You came in through accounting. Like, I think keep an eye open for the ways to get in if the direct route isn't completely available to you. And that all comes with learning. But I remember being in the illumination program, Irene, because I go to every one with them because I love learning about that stuff too. And the gaffers and grips saying, kind of the people running the the lighting boards now, right? That's a great way to become a gaffer and get onto a set, because the older members aren't necessarily up for learning all the new tech. So, if you have that experience, you can get in there. So that always stuck with me, and I always try to repeat that to the kids too. It's like, learn the new technologies that are coming up in the industry, because that will help you get a foot in the door into spaces that you might not otherwise have been able to get into. Any last words from anybody? Nader, did I don't want to keep people past 9, but if anybody's willing to stay and take a question, that would be lovely. Nader, what was your question you wanted to ask, love? And in the meantime, I will say thank you all so much for being a part of this. I really appreciate it. The recording will be up, and then also we'll be making clips and putting them on social, so we can share your wisdom with our audience in greater length. So Nader says, I'm the first in my entire family to be in entertainment, and I am figuring it out by myself. I'm wondering, how do I fight doubt and anxiety, and anxious thoughts? Being disabled makes it harder. Absolutely, I understand that. Anybody want to address how you fight the doubts and anxiety?
I can address it.
Yes.
Because that's something I dealt with all the time. I am someone who does deal with doubts and anxiety, especially in the game industry, because I'm usually the only one. And the one thing I did to fight those doubts and anxiety is I'd be like, okay, one thing I meant to told me that was very special. It's not bragging if you actually did it. So I meant to always told me, like, I was always scared to promote myself. I was always scared to say something like, I'm bragging. I'm not doing this.
Totally.
Like, it's bragging if you actually did it. If you in an interview, you actually made the game, you actually programmed it, then you did it. So my achievements and what I've done always kind of calms down my doubts and anxiety. And even though I haven't done as much as other people, I've still done a lot for someone who is still only 2 years into the game industry in a way. So I'm in my second year in the game industry now. And I'm already a part of Alumni Corner. I'm already doing diversity efforts. We even help people looking into people, I look into people that are like me. Because one thing I do in the IGA Foundation is we talk about people with disabilities. We look for accessibility efforts. And my company really focuses on accessibility. I try to talk to the accessible gamers group. I try to look into communities I used to help in and find the communities that help me. I found Black in gaming. Let me go help other communities as well. So that's one thing I'm very passionate about. And I feel like when you have people behind you, it fights a lot of doubt and anxieties. When you have a group of network of connections, that really helps fight the doubt and anxiety. It may not be everyone, but there is someone out there.
I love that. And Nader, I'll just say, not too long ago, I found this group called Respectability, and they are based in LA, and they very much work to, and I became a Respectability Fellow. That's actually how I met Maddy. I'm a disabled person, Maddie's neurodivergent, right? So we were both in the same cohort, and Respectability does a lot of work to help disabled creators and disabled producers get a foothold in the entertainment industry and at least make connections and understand better how to get, oh, you're part of it, so you know them. Yeah, as I say, and there are other groups as well that do great work for trying to make disabled creators get more of a foothold in the entertainment industry.
Yeah,
Cool.
and I was gonna say, Nader, I don't have the answer for you because only you know your lived experience and the right solutions. But having seen your film, which is amazing, everyone should watch it. It's so moving and so well
Gorgeous.
done. Trying to remind yourself that you have had the vision to rally people around you to create that film. Very few people could bring people together behind something the way you did. And so the fact that people believe in you enough to create that in maybe some dark moments could remind you of like how much vision, skill, ability, unique perspective, storytelling prowess, originality you have. So if you're ever feeling that moment, try to think through how you got here, and the people who are behind you, they're behind you for a reason because they believe in you. And then also just knowing that I think, and I don't classify myself as the most creative person, I'm an executive, but I have some of those inklings. I think that creative anxiety is normal, right? Most authors, filmmakers will tell you they're only as good as their next project. I think it's a very, very common feeling to have a brief high of something you've created and then say, uh-oh, now what? Now I have to prove myself again, or what does this all mean? And it'll all fall apart. So I'm sort of going with it. I'm elaborating on your thoughts all to say that I think that anxiety, unfortunately, is natural and means you're doing what you should be doing, and whatever way you can get the support to keep you going, or in whatever path you decide to go, I think is the right one.
And definitely anyone you've met, through the festival, like Yuna with Samantha and, Angela and myself, like keep in touch and follow up. Those connections that we've been talking about are part of just keeping you going and keeping you creating and keeping you not feeling like you're so alone in your journey.
Just to quickly piggyback off of all of that very briefly, but I was going to say, like, first of all, you already are doing it because we opened talking about that.
He won the grand jury prize and a distribution award from Savannah, so he's doing well.
You're already crushing it. And I was just gonna like affirm what Angela said. I have crazy imposter syndrome too, and I asked my boss about it recently, and he was like, that literally never goes away. Like, I have it, our director has it, everyone. And I was like, mind blown. I couldn't believe it because they run these meetings every day and they're like, have this vision for this show that's doing well. I was like, what do you mean you get nervous? And he's like, all the time. We always do that. And I was in a meeting where our director, who's like award-winning, he's amazing, he has this crazy resume, and he was like, I'm so sorry guys, like it's not finished what I'm about to show you, and I feel like, I don't know, I feel very naked and vulnerable like showing this. And I was like, that's crazy that Rob feels this way. Like, if Rob feels this way and he has kids my age, then I'm gonna feel this way. And like,
just to know, getting older doesn't make you be less neurotic or anxious or anything. I just want to
accepting that was huge, like realizing that, like, knowing that feeling is going to stay with me forever, so I either can just bite the bullet and do this.
You just got to accept it all.
Exactly. And you clearly have started because you already made a film, which is, like she said, more than most people. And of the other piece of this, like the disability piece, I mean, being a part of Respectability completely changed my life. It made me feel like it was something to be proud of, something that I could feel confident in. It like totally changed my worldview, and that's why representation is so important for anything. Like, it just, when you see it, you believe it. And I know you said you're a part of it. I don't know if you've ever done like a lab. You're welcome to hit me up, or I'm sure Nina, and ask us about our experiences. But just like having a community of other creatives that are all you know, from the same identity as myself was just like one of the most game-changing experiences I've ever had. I feel very grateful to have done it so early in my career because now I know myself that way. So yeah, anyways, I think
I
you're doing good
fully
stuff.
agree. I fully agree. I came to it very late, but it still made a big difference in my life, in everything, not just career-wise. Yeah.
And you are your best friend. Be your best friend. Be the one that first gives the pat in the shoulder.
That's
Because
so, that gave me chills because like that's so hard.
we all have difficult moments. We all have ups and downs. But in the end, if you believe in yourself and you are your best friend to yourself, you are going to be able to take that step forward. And if you take one step back, take two forward. But you're doing it, like Maddy said. You are there. Just keep walking and keep saying, I can do this. I have been doing it.
Yes.
And keep patting yourself on the shoulder.
I mean, I constantly doubt what I'm doing, but then I just plan the next thing.
We all
do, right? Like you just keep planning your next thing. Like I don't, and you hope what you've done has some effect. And if you enjoy what you're doing enough that you want to keep doing it, then you're probably doing the right thing. And, but I don't think the doubt and anxiety goes away. So you just kind of got to live with that, but keep doing stuff.
Or the imposter syndrome, definitely.
Yeah, no, and that's why like so important. Like it was an aha moment when I read that somewhere. Like it's just you've been excluded from these spaces that you think you don't belong in. It's not your fault that you feel like an imposter there. And I was like, oh, that makes so much more sense than everything I thought, But and I'm old, but I'm still learning. So you'll constantly be learning all about that. Thank you, everybody, so much. This has been absolutely wonderful. I appreciate all of you, and I appreciate your time. And thank you, everybody who joined us. And I will run everything by you before I post it so that it gets your okay. Okay? Because I know some of you were like, "Are you recording this?" I'm like, "Yes," but don't worry about it.
I always post my LinkedIn all the time. I do a panel because I know it's hard to make connections. So I always offer to be
Please do.
people's
Yeah, if anybody
first.
wants to put their
So
LinkedIns in
everyone
the
feels free to
chat.
connect with me. They want to.
Yeah, I will definitely. I always run clips by people. Just you put yourself out here. I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable in any way.
I think I sent already everybody a request on LinkedIn, but didn't try to be all annoying, but
No, please. Thank you so much, everybody. Much love to you all, and much continued success. And Irene, if you're still here, I'm so happy you're coming back to me. You're coming to New York. That's a great thing. And you're like, are there any other like Asian female heads of studios? Like you're like a pioneer, woman. You're like, I don't know, maybe. I mean, maybe isn't the head of like all of Korean TV an Asian woman, but she's also
there are many female heads of studio at Netflix.
That's great to know.
Yes, the head of all programming is a female Indian American, but also the founder of All Docs was Lisa Nishimura was an amazing executive. So, but I'm not diminishing your experience. I'm just saying you're not alone. There are some
President of
wonderful...
Nick too, Ramsey Naito is.
Yeah.
Good to know. Well, still.
You're in good company, girl.
Here in New York City, the studios seem very male-centric, so glad to have you here. Tommy, I don't know, I feel like I haven't talked to you in like a half hour because you were at the other end of the block. Any last words?
I mean, feel free to check out like our space in Brooklyn Navy Yard, and feel free to check out the floor that we're collaborating with NYU Tandon. We have a lot of like cool emerging tech in the film industry here, so make sure.
And you can schedule an appointment to go by and check it out. Like just hit Tommy up on LinkedIn, It's a beautiful space. It's really, I mean, the whole area, all of Brooklyn Navy Yard is just kind of bristling with new tech, and especially in entertainment. And then WLab is doing some amazing stuff. Cool. Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
Nina.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.